You know, I had something to tell you. Remember the other day when we were talking about how every other week I have an issue with a neighbor or a friend?
Yes.
Okay, so I saw this video the other day.
We'll pause for a second.
Okay.
Then I brought up the fact that if every other week she's having issues with neighbors, maybe it's you that's the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway,
for sure.
Proceed, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I saw this post the other day, and I think some of you may relate. I think I'm an oversharer. I overshare. If anybody opens the door to allow me to speak, I will tell you so many things that you probably don't want to hear, and probably things that I shouldn't share. But I definitely,
Listen.
If you ask me a question, no matter how inappropriate,
You'll go there.
probably, yeah.
Listen,
for sure.
points for self-awareness.
Thank you, thank you.
Caitlin's like, oh, you're not denying it. Caitlin
it's
is an
true.
open book.
Yeah.
You're an open book.
For sure.
In fact, Caitlin has been pushing her C-section video on me for months now. Come on, take a look, take a look. I still have not had the courage to check it out.
Yeah.
Because I'm nervous. I was telling you how when I think about these things too hard, if I did it now, it would happen. I get shooting pains down my legs. Like if anyone tells me about an injury or describes some kind of surgery or freak accident, I got this from my dad. I think it's a genetic thing. He gets it too, but it starts up here and then it literally hurts my legs.
I understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I get the heebie-jeebies, but mine is like my butt cheeks.
Speaking of,
oversharing. It's like that tingly feeling, like, oh, gross.
Mine's, yeah, I think.
What about when it comes to you? Because your finger was pretty nice.
It was. I'm down to one Band-Aid. Yeah, we had a kind of a freak kitchen accident involving a butcher knife last week in the Ponce household.
You could tell them.
One of them. Here's what happened. We're going so quickly that we're always changing gears. I'm sure a lot of parents and busy households have this, where you forget what you're doing halfway through what you like. Yesterday, for example, I go upstairs to turn on the bath water for the boys to run the bath. I get upstairs, I do something else, I come back down.
Yeah. You're right. Oh,
that's the whole reason I went up there. So anyway, Maggie and I were in the kitchen unloading the dishes. She accidentally dropped a butcher, like a big, sharp cutting knife.
Yeah.
And it landed, I didn't see it land, but it landed back in the dishwasher, sticking straight up. So the blade was straight up.
Yep.
I made a mental note that she was going to pick it up and fix it, carefully and put it in the little butcher block thing. But we both were having a conversation. We forgot all about the knife. So I reached back down to unload or reload more dishes, and I just got.
So then after Anthony shared that story, I shared a story. If you get the heebie-jeebies, this is just kind of like, a gross story. I told Anthony about a couple weeks ago. You know those little toothpick things that have the pokey end on the one side?
Oh, yeah.
And we had a bag of them, and I reached down really quick to just grab one, and the pokey thing went under my nail.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Right in that spot. It's like,
And to the point of like being busy and your brain just can't remember things. That just happened to us too, because I bought milk and it was leaking, okay? Leaking gallon of milk. And I kind of like put a towel, because I didn't know how big it was leaking, and I put it in the fridge. Grady's like, you should probably take that out. We probably shouldn't even drink it because it may be, who knows, it was broken.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going to take it out. He thought I was going to take it out.
Oh, no.
So we ended up with a milk mess in the fridge. But yeah, to your point, I think we're all just kind of, we'll get through.
We're going too quickly. There were like 3 or 4 things like that happened this past week.
Yeah.
Maggie and I paused. We're like, maybe this is the universe just saying, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down right now.
Could be.
Because when those kinds of things keep happening, I think you're just going too quickly. Not that the milk or you know what I'm saying?
No, I get it. Our brain is
But
just
the fact that
trying
you forget, or have one of those breakdowns in communication where you thought the other person was going to do it.
Or you walk into the pantry and then you literally sit there like frustrated with your own brain. Like, what was I doing in here? Maybe it's a sign that we need to go to the bar at 10 a.m. Let's go have a beverage
Let's
with Jake.
do it. Let's
Jake
do it.
Hamilton.
Let's go to the Drunken Clam.
The Drunken Clam. You guys,
Let's see. Family Guy fans, get to the screen right now. We have
Stewie.
a special. There's Stewie. Wait, who else we got on the wall there? I see Peter Griffin.
Look at him.
And I can't remember
Look.
the daughter's name. Why can't I remember the daughter's name? Meg.
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 Meg. Jake, what are you seeing out there? That actually looks. Oh, cool. Look at
Theme
this.
bar for Family Guy.
Guys, listen. Over my years in Chicago, you know, I have covered a lot of different pop-ups at different bars here and there. To, you know, this pop-up or that pop-up. And what that means is you're paying $20 to get in, to take your photo next to a cardboard cutout of a character and having a vodka soda that's named after, you know, one of the scenes from the movie. But at this pop-up in particular, this Family Guy pop-up, where they have recreated multiple areas from Family Guy, it is truly immersive. Look, they've basically rebuilt the living room, the Griffin living room from Family Guy. As you know, if you're a fan of the show, you know, what do they always tell you? Never open the closet, because that's where the angry monkey lives. So you've got the angry monkey. Now listen, guys, it wouldn't be a pop-up without merch. It's not a part of the show.
Oh, wow.
But you know there's going to be some. So we got, if you're a massive Family Guy fan, look, you got your blankets, you got your Monopolies, you got your Chia Pets, you got your T-shirts, you got your hats, you got just about everything you could possibly need to keep your love of Family Guy going. Now, here's the deal. This show has been on Fox for years. We are talking hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and each episode has a ton of jokes. If you know how the comedy in Family Guy works, you know it is rapid fire humor. And because of that, just this place is covered with some kind of an Easter egg that is basically tailor-made for the fans. Case in point, guys, can you hear this? So you know that everywhere you go, there's going to be some kind of fun to be had. I'm out here. It's $18 for a ticket to get in. But with that $18, you get a token to get a drink. So you're basically kind of getting your night started when you come out. And they got the drinks. But here's the deal, is that this particular pop-up company, you're going to want to go to Bucket Listers to get your ticket. They don't just do, like, cheap pop-ups. They actually work with the creators. They work with the studios to make sure that the experience is as authentic and perfect as possible. When they started doing these Family Guy experiences, the Drunken Clam pop-ups, they worked with Seth MacFarlane to make sure that everything was absolutely perfect. And here's the deal, guys. When you come out, you're going to want to get some food. You're going to want to get some drinks. In case in point, once again, you know, a lot of times you come out to the pop-ups and maybe the food's not great. Maybe some reheated, popped back in the oven. Here's what I can honestly tell you guys, Anthony and Kaylee. This dish right here, the chicken tendies. There were a lot more chicken tenders on that plate about 10 minutes ago. That's basically been my breakfast, I can honestly tell you. The drinks themselves, if you're a fan of the show, you know that there's an entire joke involving Cleveland and a bathtub. And so there you go. This is a drink.
Wow.
And it is a love letter to this series. Of course, they do have drinks with Cool Whip, which Mike Kaplan was quoting perfectly. If you know the show, you know. Why would you put an H? Why are you pronouncing H? Well, here's another thing that I love, guys, is that I was telling you just about the little details around. Something I've been doing is just walking around, looking. Look, they've got actual, authentic, real drawings from the early days of the show as they were kind of getting ready. You're not getting those kind of details from a lesser kind of pop-up experience. So here's what I can tell you. It is the Drunken Clam pop-up experience. If it is a immersive Family Guy experience, we're in Westtown. It opens officially tomorrow, and it runs through April 19th. Now, they're not saying that you absolutely need to make a reservation to get in, but what they are saying is that if you show up and you come knocking on the door and they're full up, then you're not going to be able to get it. So it's always better to just, I've done a couple of these pop-ups with this group before. I have found it's always better, just go on their website, find a reservation, and just that way you know that your 90-minute block is going to be reserved and it's going to be there. And listen, guys, I don't mean to brag. I know you're anchoring Chicago Now. I know Caitlin and Anthony. I know you get to be the big fancy anchors on Chicago Now. But here at Quahog,
Oh wow.
I get to be the anchor in the Family Guy experience. This is a sense of power that I'm not used to, man. What do you guys think? How do I look?
Man.
It looks great. I like the purple background.
I mean, Jake is bigfooting us on our own show, Caitlin.
Jake, how dare you? No, I love it.
I mean, listen. Family Guy's on Fox, so it's all the same. It's all the same family.
That's true.
The dedication
Look at that.
of
Look
that
at that.
bar.
I don't watch the show enough to know what that means, but I bet it's a thing.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. Although I know I like Cool Whip, Jake. I'm a big Cool Whip fan.
They painted
listen,
their walls
true-
and everything for Family Guy.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's not like they moved into this space and just threw a couple of pieces of signage up. Yeah, look at the walls.
Yeah.
Everything here is made to look like the iconic watering hole from Family Guy. They've really gone through and made sure that if they could decorate it, if it could be covered, if it could be painted, that it was decorated and covered up and painted. They really did a really great job. Actually, I'm going to ask our cameraman, do we have the ability to go outside and show the front? Do we have that? All right, guys.
Oh, let's see it.
We're tethered together, so you have to.
Impressed. They really. You're
This
right.
is
That's
really
not
cool.
just like slapping a couple of signs up there. They really transformed the space.
Yeah, and Jake, before you go,
right,
I want to see the
Yeah.
menu. Do they have like a special? You showed a couple of the items. The menu there, is it like a specific?
Oh, we'll
menu
get back there. Hold on. Let me show you the
Okay,
front.
we're gonna go outside.
They're still moving in, so excuse some of the stuff because they're opening up.
Right.
All right, we're stepping outside. Here. Go on over there. You can see. Hey guys, how we doing? All right, look. Take a look at the front. Even the signage up here is authentic to the show. You were walking down the street. We were out here earlier, and you could see people walking by doing the double take, going, "Wait, is that what I think it is?" So as soon as you walk in, you've got quotes all over the place.
This is so good.
I mean, I'm telling you, if you are a fan, you know. There are Family Guy fans who have been watching this show on Fox for, literally decades now. So to your point, see, and these are, guys, I was telling you, I was saying how when you get a token with the price of admission,
sure.
and it's good for a drink. Now I officially have this bag, and look, there's your Drunken Clam token.
Ew.
So. Caitlin Cody, Anthony Ponce, drinks on me, baby.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
Hey, Jake,
Drinks
you,
on, like,
you
look.
were mentioning, man, that you've gone to so many of these pop-ups over the years. I feel like I remember you at the the Saved by the Bell place, maybe, in the Peach
Friends.
Pit. Yeah, that's right, Friends. This one, I mean, it looks almost permanent there. What went into... how long have they been working on this, and how long is it going to be a pop-up before it returns to its regular self?
It's kind of a touring. This one is sort of on a tour right now. So this is going to be here until about the middle of April.
Okay.
They said it takes about a week and a half to kind of get everything ready. But, you were just listing some of the great ones that we've done live shots with, right? Saved by the Max, when they recreated the Max from Saved by the Bell. Or I don't know if you guys remember, there was a Golden Girls pop-up not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And that's all this same company. They really, basically their mission is, if we're going to do this, let's do this right.
Yeah.
Let's work with the people who created the show. Let's work with the studios to make sure we have the rights to get the signage and the font and the coloring of the walls and everything. Because it's why do it? I mean, let's be honest. I could do a Jurassic Park pop-up in my apartment with a cutout of Jeff Goldblum and a fern. It doesn't make it an official Jurassic Park pop-up unless I'm working with Steven Spielberg. So that's kind of the idea of what they have going on here. If you're going to get it right, go to the source and do it.
Okay, Jake, I wanted to get the menu. Hello, is that pizza? Did I see some deep dish pizza there? What do we got? I want to pick my food before I get there.
Jake's.
We got some pizza.
We got pizza.
We got,
is that a Caesar salad I saw?
fried. I hear that's called a salad. I think that's the food that my food eats.
Yeah, precisely.
I want also the
So we've got
backstory
some
on the
chicken wings here.
So it's Cleveland that has the backstory on the bathtub drink, right?
Exactly right. I'm going to need you guys to talk for like another 30 seconds.
Oh, well, he.
I'm gonna
That's what
mouthful
the
of
menu
chicken
was,
wings.
not for him to start participating and
I know.
taste
Well,
test.
you know Jake.
Jake?
This is an interactive segment, Caitlin, Cody. It's interactive. You asked what the menu is. I'm trying things.
I would do it
so,
too.
apparently there is a joke involving the character Cleveland. When what, guys? The bathtub falls through the bathtub falls kind of through the floor. And so kind of honoring Cleveland, because, you know, so many of the characters in Family Guy kind of have their own show now.
Oh, yeah,
So,
spin-offs.
they got a little bit. I mean, it's, you know, it's the kind of food that you would want to see, the kind of the comfort food that one might see at the Drunken Clam, or even like, you know, your favorite local sports bar or whatever. You know, but here's the deal: is that the food's actually good. You know, we've done. Let's be honest, guys. Be honest. We've all done some live shots where you try the food and go, that's good, and then you kind of spit it out in commercial break. That's not happening here.
Good. It looks delicious. Where exactly is it? You said West Town, right?
Guys, what's the intersection?
Ashland and Grand.
It's Ashland and Grand. And honestly, it's right on the corner. And here's what's kind of great about the location it's in. Like, it kind of feels like the Drunken Clam might be here. Like, I'm telling you, we were out there, my photographer and I, doing some live shots for Good Day Chicago this morning. And as we were, you know, people were on their way walking to and from work. And you could just see, because the entire exterior is decorated like the Drunken Clam. And you could see the double takes of particularly, I feel like guys like around our age, Anthony, that grew up watching the show. You could see the double takes of the guys going, is that what I think it is? And yeah, it is exactly what you think it is.
Man.
Aw,
That is so
Jake,
great.
we'll let you go. You can drink that bathtub now.
Exactly. To wash down
I got to come back for work.
those tenders.
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
More fun.
Thank you so much for the inside look, sir. Bring enough back for the whole
Thanks,
class.
guys.
Thank
I'll
you,
take
Jake.
the salad and the fries, please.
Side note.
Caitlin, Cody, this is for you, baby.
There we go. There we go.
Yum.
It'll be nice and Luke.
Ooh,
by the
is that
time.
the pizza? Ooh, yes.
Does look good. That looks almost like a little Detroit
A
style.
Detroit-style
Yeah.
pizza.
This reminds me, for any Coming to America fans out there, the Eddie Murphy classic, the Wiener Circle, and they've been making a lot of news recently with their
giveaways.
look-alike and giveaway contact. For Halloween, this was like 3 or 4 years back, for Halloween, the Wiener Circle dressed up as McDowell's from Coming to America, which is the spin-off they have in that movie of McDonald's. This is probably before your time, Caitlin. McDowell's, they got the golden arches, we got the golden arcs. So it was like a whole Halloween costume for the restaurant itself. But this is a bar that I think they did a really good job.
Phenomenal.
It
Like
looks-
I said, down to the walls painted in the Family Guy theme. I mean, that
Yeah.
to me is dedication. They had to have an artist come out to do this. And he said it's going to be busy, so if you didn't hear that part, make sure you got to make a reservation.
Grand and Ashland, make your reservation, and it'll be up through mid-April, he said.
I wonder what the website is. We forgot to ask him. I suppose you could just
We'll get
Google
that for
Drunken Clam
Pop-up
Chicago.
That'll get you to the result.
Get you some Insta photos.
I love things like this. It's these kinds of things that get us through this kind of weather, Caitlin.
And it makes Chicago special. How fun.
Yeah, I love it. All right, we are going to talk about something else really cool to get us through these cold winter days. It's a play, and it's playing at the Broadway Playhouse, and it's called Eureka Day. And the reason, it doesn't refer to a day of the week, it's Eureka Day School. And it's kind of a parody that touches on a lot of kind of like serious 2025, 2026 issues such as vaccinations, whether to vaccinate your kid, but in a funny way. Because sometimes with all this news, all the divisiveness,
We need to giggle.
we need to
giggle.
laugh at ourselves a little
Yeah.
bit. And this group, this company, is providing us some much needed humor. So we're going to check in with one of the cast members and tell you all about where you can check out the play, Eureka Day. It's getting raves when we come back right after this.
I got hurt in a
Morning, happy Wednesday. Thank you for watching Chicago Now. It is just about 10:22. Okay, so the Broadway Playhouse is hosting Timeline Theater Company's Chicago premiere. It's called Eureka Day, this production, and you have the chance to see it until February 22nd. So we're learning more about the show with cast member Aurora Adachi Winter. So thank you for joining us this morning. Aurora, how you doing?
I'm feeling so good. It's our opening night today.
Oh, very nice.
Very
So you're here in
exciting.
town already?
Yes, I'm in Chicago. I'm from Chicago actually, but
Oh.
I've been here since about the holidays. We've been rehearsing the show for about a little bit over a month.
Okay, so Eureka Day, can you give us a little description of what your play is about?
Yes, of course. So Eureka Day is about a private elementary school in Berkeley, and it follows the executive committee of the board, which is made up of a couple of parents and then the head of the school. And the executive committee only makes decisions by consensus. And then there is a mumps outbreak at the school, and they have to figure out how they're going to navigate that situation when you have almost half of the families who do vaccinate their kids and then the other half that does not.
Man, I would expect there to be more consensus in a place like Berkeley, California. But yeah, it sounds like there's some back and forth between these parents. Okay, I watched the trailer for this, Aurora, on YouTube, and one of the things that struck me is you're not shy. Obviously, you guys aren't shying away from controversial issues in this production, but you're also incorporating today's technology and how a lot of these meetings and stuff take place via these live Zooms where there's like conversation going online during the meetings themselves. Will you tell us about that?
Yes, so that is about halfway through the play. We have a community activated conversation where, because there's been an outbreak, we cannot all get together in person. So it takes place on Zoom, and we have a projector screen that comes down, and you can see the chat, and everyone in the theater can read the chat. And what's going on in the chat is honestly way funnier than whatever it is that we're doing on stage. And the audience seems to really, really enjoy it, just dealing with those moments of people who use emojis, people who don't know how to unmute, people who still don't know how to like figure out if this is a live stream or a recording. And I think you can really, after we all got through 2020 and the pandemic, I think everyone really sees themselves in that moment.
Okay, so
Oh yeah.
as we mentioned off the top, this is a hot topic. In the creation of this play, was there heated debate, conversation, differing opinions about how it should be written and played out?
Well, so the play was written right before the pandemic. Jonathan Spector, I believe, is from the Berkeley area, and in that area, everyone really agreed on everything except for if they should vaccinate their children or not.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And you would think that it would not be that case, but so that's why he wrote the play. And then 2020 happened. I think they had started the production, and then 2020 happened. They had to cancel the show, which is why when it won the Tony last year, it won the Tony for Best Revival, because technically it was a revival of the show. So I was not personally involved in those conversations about the development of the script. I know it's had changes since the pandemic. I think the version of the script that we're doing was updated in just October of 2025. But it does deal with a lot of difficult subjects, but it's a satire, and so it's very enjoyable. I think audiences are they're cracking up. They seem to really, really enjoy it, even in the moments that are a little more intense. You kind of need that levity even in those darker moments as well. But we had a lot of really personal conversations in the room. And that's why I think we're able to bring such honesty and authenticity to this particular production here in Chicago.
That's cool. I feel like in this footage we are seeing you off to the right. You appear to be knitting.
Yeah.
Tell us about your character. Is it pronounced Mako?
Meiko, yes.
Meiko.
She's a Berkeley native. It says in the script that Meiko is knitting, and luckily my grandma taught me how to knit many, many years ago. It's not an incredible scarf, and I will say knitting on stage, the scarf has many holes. I have lost, I don't know what they're called exactly on the thing, but I've lost a few and I've picked some up, but the scarf just keeps on going. But she's a Berkeley native. She is specifically written as half Japanese, and that is what I am as well. And she is a single mom, and her daughter, Olivia, attends the school Eureka Day.
Okay, so let's talk about your personal experience with being in this play. From what I understand, this is the first time that you've worked with Timeline. What has your history been in acting?
Oh gosh, I always wanted to be an actor. Both of my parents were in the arts for a bit, and I think they were always very encouraging. They were always encouraging me to try pretty much anything else, but then once I landed on that, they were very supportive and have seen every single thing that I've done. I went to I went to Walter Payton, which is right down the street from where we're doing the show, which is really cool. And then I went to University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, for my BFA. And then I just started working in the Storefront Theaters here in Chicago, which is the best training program in the world. And I moved to Los Angeles 2 years ago, but I will always come back to Chicago to do a production such as this, especially directed by Lillian Brown. This is my second time working with her, and she's just a brilliant, brilliant director. I'm so thankful to her and to Timeline for putting together this cast, because this show it says a lot, and the conversations are heavy. And if our cast did not love each other as much as we do, I think it could be a really tricky situation.
Yeah, right. I don't know if you can answer this like completely, because you'd be speculating here. However, I'm just wondering, Chicago is obviously a blue, very blue city overall. It takes place in Berkeley. Should your politics dictate whether you come and see this show, or could it be for everybody?
Oh no, I think it's definitely for everybody. And I think you walk away with a lot more to think about. Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's good. That's good. I think that anything that makes all of us pause and think.
yeah.
And think deeply, and not just
Open-minded.
be in our echo chamber and regurgitate sound bites from our side, if you will, is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so where is this playing? It's playing through February 22nd. What do people need to know if they want to score some tickets here?
You'll have to go to Broadway in Chicago. They do have the box office open. I think any of the Broadway and Chicago theaters, you can buy tickets to Eureka Day. But of course, at the Broadway Playhouse, which is just off of Michigan Avenue on Chestnut there, the box office is there, or you can go online.
All right.
Beautiful venue.
Good luck tonight. Have fun.
Yes, break a leg.
Thank you. We're so
break a leg.
excited.
We'll be following along, and have a great run here in Chicago.
Can't wait
we
to see that
appreciate
scarf
it, Aurora.
at the end.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
you
that
so
scarf.
much.
That'll make a great family heirloom item. You can pass it
Yeah.
down to your kids and
Very
stuff.
My scarf. Oh yeah.
the scarf.
I will.
All right, that looks awesome. All right, we are going to talk money when we come back. We're going to take a quick break here. But this has always been something that's been on my mind as someone who, I'm a journalist. I majored in English. Friends of mine did finance. They were in the business school. But there are certain things I wish I had known. Compound interest, what that was. I didn't know any of that in high school.
Right. How to invest.
Exactly.
We were learning how to write in a checkbook.
Right.
To balance your checks.
Right. High interest,
How
like
things
a
have
high yield
changed.
savings account. What a 401k is. Just like basic seeds, things that we may take for granted that we know it now, but like if we had known these things back then.
Right.
So we're going to talk about teens and money skills with an expert and how we get through to these teens.
And when we should start talking to them about
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's when we come back right after this short break.
Fear Factor is the
talking about money with your kiddos. We are going to dive into how you can teach your teens about money management, but you might need some help getting started with this conversation. So joining us this morning is Ben Klein, ChicagoNOW Wealth Management Advisor. Thank you for joining us this morning, Ben.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Okay, so let's talk about, before we even get to talking to teens, is that the age about 13 on that we should be talking to our kids about finances?
Well, great question. My perspective is when kids can start doing addition and subtraction, which sometimes is 6, 7, 8, that's a pretty good time to start the process.
Okay.
Obviously, as the children get older, they can understand more complex topics, but certainly by the time a child's a teenager, and Anthony, I heard what you commented on in the right before the break. A lot of things people wish they knew a long time ago. We can at least help our kids or grandkids learn it now.
Right.
So I think no time's too early, but probably 6 or 7 was where I would start.
And in terms of getting these guys launched before they go off to college, before they make the decision, for example, to even take out a student loan, why is it so important to get these messages across to teenagers?
Well, I think it's important for a number of reasons, but the challenge is everyone thinks someone else has taught our children these messages, these lessons. For example, parents often think their kids are going to learn this in high school. High school thinks they're going to learn it in their job. In their job, they thought they learned it in high school. And what you have is, just a lack of understanding of personal finance. And many states actually don't even mandate a personal finance requirement for high school graduation, including Illinois. So I think it's just taking a hands-on approach as a parent. Many parents already work with a terrific financial advisor or wealth management team. Consider including those children in a meeting once in a while. They'll start getting exposed to ideas that they aren't hearing about. For teenagers that have jobs, it's really great to sit down and talk about, saving some of that money, maybe putting some of it into a savings account so they can see it. You mentioned compound interest earlier. It's one thing to hear about it. It's another thing for a child to see it, their money actually work for them in an account somewhere.
Okay, so you mentioned talking about them saving money. What other topics should we be discussing with them? Are we diving into the student loan conversation, or do we talk about 401k, Roth IRAs? Where do you think we should go from there?
Well, maybe I'll start with the Roth IRA because it's just one of terrific vehicles, especially the younger the contributor is when they started. So, even for children that are under 18, they can set up a custodial Roth IRA with a parent or guardian. And if they have a summer job or a camp job, that earned income makes them eligible to contribute. So in many cases, we'll have children in our practice, clients' children, contributing to these accounts at 15, 16, 17. It starts the pattern and behavior of investing for the long term, and then they can see those accounts grow over time, continue to contribute once they're post high school into college and beyond. As far as 401ks, it's certainly helpful for children to understand the tax benefits they can get by saving money into a 401k when they work with an employer, or some of them will become entrepreneurs and they can set up their own 401k plan in their own business. I think another thing that's really important, and this just comes from some of the surveys. Forbes had a survey recently. 75% of high school graduates do not feel they have an understanding of personal finance, and 30% of them could not explain the difference between a debit and a credit card. So some of it's just starting at the basics, like understanding like the debit card, comes out of your checking account. A credit card, you get a bill that you should pay off when you get the bill. Those just basic lessons. Also, families are buying cars and doing things like include your teenagers when they're going to a dealership so they can understand if someone's paying cash, if they're financing, the leasing options. It's just an opportunity to bring that child along when something's going to happen in your family anyway.
Ben, let me ask you this. How often do you and your colleagues there come across clients who have student debt problems? Not just from undergrad, but, med school costs,
Hundreds.
more than 100. Yeah, it could be hundreds of thousands, with all that stuff.
And dental school is unbelievably expensive. It's almost not hard to believe. So we do come across that from time to time. It's a very big burden for those individuals who have these large, responsibilities. It ultimately, for each individual, it's about, if they already have the debt, it's about developing a plan to pay it down, and to pay it down as quickly as possible. Obviously, the interest rate that that loan is accruing at is an important factor. on the speed at which it should be paid down. And in some cases, we'll have clients, children who have loans, multiple loans, and at different interest rates. So, obviously the advice we give is pay down the highest interest rate loan first, but it's specific to every individual. If the family already is working with a financial advisor, that they should have that conversation, certainly. But it's important, and it's important to also, with parents or guardians, before that child, takes out a loan, to really understand the responsibility that comes with that and the burden that they're going to have, post-graduation, because maybe some of these students, depending on what type of loan and what type of schooling they're going through, maybe there's an opportunity to earn some part-time income to, reduce how much needs to be borrowed along the way.
Right.
Okay, I've got a twofer, two questions. For parents of young children, I have seen this on social media, two different things, actually. One was getting their credit established young, which I never did that, and it seemed to work itself out later in life. I don't know if it's a good idea to get their credit started young. And then the other thing that I've seen on social media, again, along the line of having children, how parents can start these accounts for their kids, for example, like the college 529.
Yeah.
And then if the kids decide not to go to college, they can roll that into a Roth IRA. Instead of, and use it as a savings account. So what do you think about both of those two topics?
Well, first of all, as it relates to, the Roth IRA or the 529, there have been changes made that allow money that's sitting in a 529 for a very extended period of time, I should add, can eventually go to Roth IRA. We certainly encourage, those investors, or parents, or those young adults to talk with their tax advisor before making that decision, because you have to really understand those rules. But that is a newer option that was not, available, previously. And then the other question you wanted me to comment on was
establishing credit.
Oh, establishing credit, correct. So listen, I think it's really important to understand how credit works, to establish credit early, to understand how credit scores work. What many parents will do is put a child on a credit card account, maybe a new credit card account, as a co-owner, and then making sure that card is paid off every month. And then eventually, sometimes those parents will then drop themselves off and the card can be titled just in that child's name. Again, they should talk with their own financial advisor and make sure that it makes sense for their family. But establishing credit early, I think, is very important, because often, even if the child, young adult, is going to try to lease an apartment, in most cases now, a credit check is run. So, early and often with establishing credit, I think is a real good idea.
While we have you, I also want to ask you about the cryptocurrency real quick and see if you have any thoughts on this. I know it's really popular. I've heard it's really popular. I've never dabbled, but I heard it's getting popular with young people. Do you think this is based on a misunderstanding of crypto or a sincere belief in the benefits of crypto?
Anthony, I had a feeling you might ask that question. So listen, cryptocurrencies have become, mainstream, at least from a financial media perspective. The best advice I can give everyone is talk to your own financial advisor, because some of these assets are incredibly volatile and could have a lot of risk. So I'd rather not comment just generally. It's a different kind of investment. Certainly.
Give us the secrets.
Maybe on the next session. On the next session.
All right. Yeah,
The best advice, though, is to be very careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Proceed with caution. We'll take that under advisement. Let's see. You mentioned, Ben, that it's not mandated by Illinois for high schools to teach a personal finance course. As news people, I mean, if there was a pie chart of stories we cover that have to do with our budget, I mean, it's astronomical, the number of stories that have to do with debt, budgeting, the financial crisis, student loan debt, this
money
whole thing.
runs the world, yes.
Like,
We see it all every day of the week.
what is going on? Like, to me, this should be as important as a math class when it comes to real world application. Does this need to change?
Well, from a certified financial planner's perspective, yes, it should definitely change. And it goes to what I mentioned earlier. Like, the parents think the schools are teaching them, the schools think the parents are the employer, and no one's teaching, many of our young adults anything on this topic. Even when there's some type of finance-related course in some of these high schools, they tend to be at a much bigger level, more economics than personal finance. So I think it should change. I think, don't fact check me on this, but I think at least half the states in the country do not mandate a personal finance requirement to graduate from high school. So I think it should change. I have read that there's some talk in Illinois about trying to mandate that. It's really unclear to me why it's not a mandate everywhere, because there's just no downside providing that education before someone goes out to college or goes out to their first major job. So I hope it changes, but in the meantime, happy to come back and share thoughts.
Ben,
I've got one more question.
Oh, go for
one
it.
more question. So you mentioned everyone talk to your own financial advisor. Maybe there's somebody who's listening who thinks, including myself, I don't have bukus of money to talk to a financial advisor about where my money should go. So do you think that everybody should have a financial advisor, even if they're paying off debt or they're living paycheck to paycheck? Like, do you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
also,
for sure.
okay, so if we do have to get one, if you're saying yes, we need to get one, how do we go about
Well,
doing
here,
that?
so what I would say is this: everyone should have a plan for what they're going to do with their money, how to manage their debt, the goals that they want to accomplish, not just in the next 2 or 3 years, but 5, 10, and 20. So I think everyone should have a plan. Certain people certainly can benefit from the advice of a terrific financial advisor. But the other thing is there's other resources available without working directly with the financial advisor. For example, Bank of America, our parent company, Merrill Lynch, is a big believer in financial literacy and financial education. So anyone can go to bettermoneyhabits.bankofamerica.com, and there's resources and tools for free that I think many people can find incredibly helpful, including young adults. And I would encourage everyone to, especially if someone does not have a financial advisor, to look there first.
Okay.
Because it's just terrific resources. It's a great starting spot.
I like that.
I thought we were out of time, but we have time for one more question, Ben.
Sure.
We got a minute left. And I love this one. Okay, what would you say, before we let you go, is the biggest financial mistake that adults say they wish they would have avoided earlier?
Well, it actually ties to what you mentioned before the break. The biggest mistake we hear people articulate back to us is they wish they started earlier. They wish they started saving earlier. They wish they started investing earlier. They wish they better understood the tax potential advantages of different types of accounts that they may not have taken advantage of until more recently. It's like, sometimes people say, when's the best time to plant a tree? And they say, 50 years ago. What's the second best time today, right? So they wish they could go back and plant that tree years ago. So that's why I think this topic's so important, and I'm really glad, you had this segment. The time to help our children, our young adults, learn about finances is today, so they don't have those regrets, decades down the road.
Very, very well
Great
stated.
tip, yeah.
Ben Klein with Chicago Merrill Wealth Management. Thank you so much for your expertise. Really appreciate it. Hope you come back and join us sometime soon.
Be my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, very good, very good.
Great.
That was enlightening. I know. I fortunately had my dad. Remember when I got my first actual salary job? Max out your 401k. Max out your It was. I'm glad I did, because a lot of people don't have that baseline understanding of compound interest. And like he kind of alluded to, you can talk about how hot a stove is, but until you touch that stove and feel the burn on your finger, he's right. That's why you take your kid to the car dealership, so that they can hear firsthand just how this all works. So you're not like, oh, start early, you'll be thankful. You need tangible information, which I think is lost on a lot of kids.
I think too, I've started as early as 3 and 4 with my kids, just by saying, because they'll say, why do you got to go to work? Don't leave. And I say, Mommy goes to work so that we can have a house, so that I can feed you, so that we have heat. This is why Mommy goes to work. So it starts even as small as little toddlers to say, this is how the world works. You got to make money.
And maybe we could do a follow-up segment on this. I use this app called Greenlights with Theo. It's an app where it keeps track of his allowance, because he earns his allowance if he does his homework, makes his bed, practice piano.
I love that.
$10 a week. Way more than I had, by the way, but inflation, right?
Sure.
And it's been a really good tool for us, but getting those lessons early, even before they're teenagers, he's saying as soon as they can add and subtract,
6 or 7.
you can actually do it.
Yeah.
You're funny, because you're like, we have a house. I always go with toys and treats. You want toys and treats, little guys?
Toys
Daddy's got to
and
go to work.
treats.
Toys,
the car, the
and
gas,
treats.
everything costs money.
Indeed, and we are going to speak. We're going to be joined. We get to talk to Natalie
Bombkey
again.
is back?
Bombkey is back after this break. with another one of her adventures to Brookfield Zoo, Chicago. Stay with us.
I'm in.
Dressed for the occasion here at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago. I'm with President and CEO Dr. Mike, and we are introducing you to the ring-tailed lemur today. Tell us about this crew that we have behind us.
So these are our boys Ramses, Moses, and Dogwood. Ring-tailed lemurs are native to the island of Madagascar off the coast of Africa. Really fun animals. We've been watching them here with some enrichment items that have been added in there just to give them some items to interact with. They've been looking around for some craisins at the moment that we're
Who doesn't love a craisin?
That's right, that's right.
They're very leapy. That's how I would describe them.
Yeah, so they're a primate, so they're similar to a monkey, but not a monkey. So if you think of them within the primate family, they're kind of a primitive monkey. They still rely more heavily on their sense of smell than their eyesight, so they've got that long snout like we would think of with many other animals versus a more vision-focused face that you would see in a monkey or an ape.
Are they only on the island of Madagascar?
They are, yeah. So there's around 100 different species of lemurs. They range from some really tiny little mouse lemurs up to the larger ones like the ring-tailed lemurs or the siphox or the red-ruffed lemurs, but about 100 different types in total, all found just on the island of Madagascar.
And I would assume that their habitat is probably in danger, right, if they're just all right there?
It is, yeah. So they are endangered. You know, it's the threats of human encroachment, human development, clearing of forest land for agriculture, loss of forest habitat to charcoal use, all kinds of different things, but really anything that takes down that forest canopy really threatens them.
Tell me a little bit about their tails. They're so unique.
Yeah, so I think one of the most interesting things about that striped tail is that they're all identical. So it's not like a zebra or you know, an animal with stripes like a tiger where the patterns are different.
They're unique to that specific animal,
yeah,
right?
It's not like a barcode. It's always the same 13 white, 13 black on the length of that tail. But they use it for communication, so when they're out looking for food, it's something that helps keep the group together. It's easy to see that tail up in the air. And they
like
use
a
it for
tour
signals.
guide.
Exactly,
yes.
yeah.
Just like a tour guide.
Yeah.
I also want to touch on, though, the scent. You mentioned that. Their sense of smell is better than their eyesight, and they mark their territory.
That's right. So they've got scent glands on their wrists. They've got scent glands at the base of their tail. So you'll see them marking, rubbing things to lay down that scent to let other animals know that they're there.
All right. Well, you can come see them here at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago.
Oh, man.
So cute, Natalie.
Looks like a stuffed animal.
Would you think that they were related to monkeys?
I
Or in
would.
the same family?
I would. just because they are.
I don't
Some of those
know.
monkeys have got a long tail like
Are
that, and
they?
they kind of use.
They
are they?
They are not.
They're not.
Oh.
So they're their own subset of species.
Are they related to koalas?
No.
Okay.
They're actually, the difference between them and monkeys, like monkeys have a little obviously shorter snouts.
Yeah.
There's a couple other differences, but monkeys are typically not nocturnal like lemurs. And you guys, the most amazing thing is they're only found on the African island of Madagascar.
That is unbelievable.
There's over 100 species.
That are just there, or
there.
of lemur, or
Of
100.
lemur.
Oh my
That's the
gosh,
only
because I know
place in
there's
the
a lot of
world.
species that only exist on Madagascar.
Do we know why?
Well, they think that they floated over from mainland Africa, probably
You are
on
kidding.
vegetation, like, you know, many, many years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Wow.
And they just kept breeding and breeding and breeding. So that's why there's all these subspecies there. I think Dr. Mike said there's like 250 subspecies.
Amazing.
But that's the only, and very different as well. Like if you look at some of them, they're very different than what you're seeing here, and they've just evolved over time on that single island of Madagascar.
Amazing. So
Wow.
you were telling us while the piece was going that they actually use their tails to guide one another in a certain way. Will you kind of elaborate on that?
So you know when I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World or a tourist destination, and there's the person holding like the
Yes.
Polish flag and all the Polish, you know.
We're walking. Now we're stopping.
Now we're
Yeah.
stopping. They use their tails as a kind of a flag to lead the rest of the troop, like if they're going somewhere together. It's so cute. I know. So fun.
Their babies?
I think that they do. I believe that that's something that Dr. Mike said, that they carry them.
I connected them to koalas, because don't koalas carry their babies on their
They're
backs?
marsupials. They have a pouch, actually.
The lemurs
Koalas.
are?
No.
Oh, koalas.
Koalas
Okay, got
are.
it. Yeah.
I don't think that lemurs are marsupials, but
Very neat.
Wow. Okay. And so these, where are they? You know, I'm kind of picturing the layout of the zoo. Where can we find the ringtail lemur?
these are they have like an African animal exhibit, and that's where, or habitat, and that's where they are. I'm trying to think what other animals are within there. Thinking.
Is that where the other primates are? Is it near
No,
the primates?
actually, they have. I'm glad you brought that up. So they have an entirely new primate
Right,
habitat.
that
is
was
indoor and outdoor. It was
Yes.
a multi-million-dollar renovation.
Right.
Just opened over the summer, and some of those animals actually can withstand the cold weather. So, like the silverback gorillas.
Right.
And there's one other species as well that can go outside when it's this cold. Maybe the orangutans.
Wow.
And so you can still, you know, partake in that when you go. You can do the outdoor-indoor.
Natalie, what do you have coming up for us?
So next week I have an animal that I had never heard of before. It's called the red-flanked duiker.
Oh.
Any idea on what this could be?
Not even
insect?
at all.
No.
Oh.
You will never
What
guess.
was your guess?
A lizard? I said an
Lizard.
insect.
Oh, yeah, that's a good.
See, I would think like a frog or something. Like
Sure.
that. It's actually one of the smallest species of antelope.
Oh.
They have it on display, and it's so super cute.
A little mini
wow.
and antelope are like not like reindeer, but ish.
Right,
Ish.
kind of.
Deer.
Yes, and they're also in Africa, just like the ring-tailed lemurs. So we're kind of sticking on that continent, but really super cute.
Oh wow! So it's like a miniature
Nice.
little antelope thing.
It's probably
A little
this
baby.
big.
Oh,
That is
nice.
insane.
So
wow.
fun,
Oh,
Natalie.
Chicagoland. I'm glad we have you as our Chicago
You're so
correspondent.
knowledgeable.
You know.
Unbelievable. And this is because Natalie, she is what, you're in your third trimester, right? We can speak openly about
Yes,
this, right?
yeah.
So we're gonna miss these segments that have been like every week, right? You got a couple more.
She'll have to just send us videos from her zoo at home, right?
Yeah.
You're expanding stable
baby.
of.
I could probably
Offspring.
create my own videos on Chips the cat, because
There
he
you go.
alone does
We
the
were talking
weirdest
about
stuff.
little Chips and Mr. Bill, how you have the most
The best names
creative
ever.
names.
Chips.
Chips.
Here comes Chips. Natalie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Always love seeing all your adventures at Brookfield Zoo Chicago. We have another fun hour of Chicago Now right after this short break, so stay with us. Hope you're having a great Wednesday.
The social media role of what
Chicago Now. Good to have you next to me, Tia.
It's been a little while, right?
Yeah, you've been busy on stories.
Hitting the streets.
In the streets, getting all the important information for us here on Fox Chicago.
It's been good.
Now we have another packed show.
We do, and we have a lot coming up on this show.
We do. We're going to talk about trending here in a second, but first we're talking to a local Chalkbeat reporter about 5 things to watch for 2026 in local education. There's always something going on with CPS.
Sure.
There's always something going on with other entities, you know, influencing the schools. Also, we're going to be sitting down with the Chicago's second ever poet laureate. I know that was a big story last year with the first ever, so now this is number 2. We're going to see how much influence maybe she has on this year 2026 and who might be next in the running too.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. But first we got to talk about one thing that is trending. I told you when I saw her, I was like, wow, how do, you know, a lot of these celebrities, they look so good. Hilary Duff is no exception. She hit the stage after 11 years. Take a quick look. You may be thinking like, wow, that kind of sounds a little familiar, right? Well, if you grew up watching Lizzie McGuire, the song was featured actually in the Lizzie McGuire movie, but has been a lasting hit. It continues to be a hit. She looks absolutely fantastic. Apparently she is putting out a new album, which I think a lot of people will be looking forward to, Luck or something. I want to know, what is it? Is it luck with these celebrities? Are they doing something that we don't have the privilege to know about? What is it to look so young? And it's not just the face, it's her whole everything.
I think it's the latter. I think it's the latter.
What do you think it is?
Something I think
that
there's
they're
something
doing
that they have. Yeah, whether
that we just don't know yet.
There's some that do like IV, you know, transfusions of like different minerals, and then they get blood tests and stool tests, and they're able to see what they need, like based off their genealogy. Like they have access to some crazy stuff. Or maybe she's just working out like a ton, well, all the time, every day.
In fairness, I guess if you have money, right, you can kind of pick what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you're not stressed, because I do think the more money, the more problems, but I think that the problems are different from the rest of us. I mean, just being honest, I really do. I think it's fascinating, though, that she hit the stage, you know, last time on the stage, 2015. Hey, hats off to her.
And that's the first time she's ever performed that song
in 11
on
years.
Stage.
And the first time she's ever performed it. Yep.
Isn't that nuts? But you know, she's also been making headlines along with Meghan Trainor. I think some other, maybe we'll have it here. Yeah, it comes after another former Disney star, Ashley Tisdale, accused Duff of being part of a toxic mom group that she used to be a part of. The group featured Tisdale, Duff, Meghan Trainor, and Mandy Moore.
Toxic mom group. What would that consider? What is a toxic mom group?
Gossiping, I guess.
I mean, well then,
judging,
a lot of people should be in that group.
Their kids.
I was talking to somebody the other day,
neighborhood or what?
And I said, I started off with saying gossip is bad, and they corrected me, and it actually came from a really good place. I thought about it after they said it. They said sometimes you're forced to gossip because you don't have the information from the source that you really need the information from.
It's true.
So it forces you to gossip about things. Not that you're doing it, you know, with, you know, bad intentions, that you're talking about it to get it out because you haven't heard it from the actual source. And it gave me a different perspective on gossip, because I'll be honest, I really have a real problem with people that gossip. I do. It makes me like...
That is a good point, actually.
Yeah, it was a good point.
That person who's like, you know, gossiping or starting the conversation, maybe they're just concerned about themselves and what this might mean for them.
True.
You know,
that could be selfish too, but yeah.
Well, it's selfish. Yeah. But like, you know, like you're like, okay, how is this going to affect me? I need more information.
Right.
So I'm not put in the same place.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
And so they gave me a different perspective. I was like, interesting perspective.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, so hey.
Next is about a Houston restaurant.
This is crazy.
This is too much. They're speaking out after security video reveals a couple's alleged hair planting scheme. Okay, so this Houston restaurant is called Fajitas Mexican Grill. They said they're looking at surveillance footage that went viral showing an apparent attempt to scam for a free meal. All right, so you're catching what I'm putting down. The video was recorded back on January 12th, and it shows a woman pulling her hair out from her own head and placing it on the table. Half eaten, her enchilada, chalupa, whatever you're eating. is almost gone. And then moments later, the man dining with her appears to move the hair onto his plate and calls a server over to complain. So the incident immediately raised suspicion among staff, according to the owner's daughter. So Ramirez noted that no kitchen staff had long hair. So they did a little investigation, right? And no employee's hair matched the color seen in that footage. You know, she obviously has some dark long hair. Despite the concerns, the restaurant comped the couple's meal at the time, which is, you know, a smart move. And then they were looking at the security footage and saw that it was deliberately staged.
I'm happy they had the video. One question for the couple: why didn't you notice the video cameras before you pulled this stupid thing in the first place? But then my other question is, how many times have you gotten away with that? You didn't just choose that day to start trying to scam a restaurant for a free meal. You've done that before. And it's worked. Otherwise, you wouldn't have tried it, right? It's worked somewhere else. And so how many times have you pulled that on a small business that is in dire straits? I mean, because you got to realize a lot of small businesses have not bounced back from COVID. We've seen businesses also impacted because, I mean, I know people don't like to talk about it, but because of ice being on the ground in different cities. And so that comes with protests maybe in that area, or even in some cases, maybe that community doesn't want to come out in full force. So to do that, you're depleting a small business that keeps also people employed in the community. It's just really a bad look all around. And to me, I don't want to be like, you know, the person that throws the gavel down, but I feel like they should have to pay for that in some way.
No,
that's wrong.
That's totally wrong, no matter what way you look at it, honestly. And if you're in that situation where you're like, okay, you know, you're struggling and you can't really afford to eat out, well,
don't eat out.
Don't eat out, or, you know, maybe be upfront. Hey, guys, you know, like, I don't know. There's no reason
don't try to go to a restaurant.
But yeah, they're already operating on tight margins, obviously. A lot of these families, small-owned businesses.
That's wrong.
So what's your deal? Luckily, it went viral, and they said that the restaurant is happy about that, mostly so that a couple like that or others, you know, they're aware of this kind of like, you know, scheme that might be happening.
I was trying to see what she said. The restaurant felt it was important to defend its staff and warn other business owners. And that's the part that I'm really happy about, because now people know who to look for. In this case, this is where, you know, with the news, people always say, well, why did you blur their faces? You know, people ask us that all the time for different stories that we report. And I sometimes do agree, you know, as an everyday individual, sometimes you do want to put these people on blast. But in fairness, even if they were charged with something, that would be a misdemeanor. So that's why their faces are blurred. They're not charged with a crime. So their faces are blurred in that case. So it is kind of hard to know, well, who are they? What were their names? You know, so yeah, they probably can do it again. And yeah, the restaurant said, like you said, that they've been operating, you know, really on a thin budget. So that's awful. That
As many restaurants are. Think about rent going up too. At, you know, most major cities like Houston. Anyway, horrible. Don't do that, people.
Don't do that.
Okay, please. Or you're going to be caught.
Yeah. And if you go to a restaurant also, tip the wait staff.
Yeah.
That is a tough job. And, you know, a lot of those wait staff, they're operating on the tips. If you're going to go, especially you're going with 4, 5, 6, 7 people, they're coming back to your table, filling up water. Give them a tip.
That's our advice.
That's our advice.
I think we have some more advice for maybe this young man.
Yeah, maybe stay off social media. I got to pull up that on my phone.
So David Beckham breaks his silence after his son Brooklyn Beckham's post. We showed you this post yesterday, Jake and I. It was pretty much like a 6-part of Brooklyn Beckham, David and Victoria Beckham's son, about, you know, why he's upset with his family, why he essentially cut him off, and giving a reason out to the public on social media, millions of followers. Obviously, everyone ate it up. On his Instagram stories.
So let me read some of what he said before we get into it. I've been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. He's talking about his family. And he said, they left him no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. And the reason why he said I'm not being controlled is because some people are pointing to his wife, saying that, you know, she is the controlling one. He did in part take her last name, so that is why he felt the need to mention that word there, controlled.
So here's the response, because at first we had no kind of like backstory from Victoria and David Beckham.
And I guess David Beckham kind of addressed his son Brooklyn's recent social media statements during an appearance on CNBC's Squawk Box on, well, that would be yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
Beckham said he spoke broadly about social media, calling it a place where he can make, quote, mistakes. And Beckham says, Dad Beckham, David, I have always spoken about social media and the power of social media for the good and for the bad. He warned that social media can be dangerous, especially considering what children can access online. But then Beckham emphasized the importance of using social media for the right reasons. He cites his work at UNICEF and help raise awareness for global issues affecting children. He's just kind of trying to like sidestep it. So Brooklyn is 26. He's not a kid.
No, he's not a kid.
He's a grown man.
He's not their only child. They have a 23-year-old, a 20-year-old, and also a 14-year-old as well. This is what I think, okay? And listen, I'm going to just give it to you straight up.
Here's the take.
I think that this is where it's really tough in balancing parenthood, because you can give your kids everything. They turn out to be ungrateful, spoiled brats. That's the truth. And I think I'm not judging this kid, okay? So I don't want Brooklyn Beckham to come in my DMs, but let me say this, that I think it's very dangerous and it's very hard for parents, because if you've grown up with humble beginnings and maybe now you have a little more than what you had growing up, you want to be that parent that can give your kids everything you didn't have. And I'm in that battle, because what happens is you also want them to be humble. You also want them to be grateful. You also want them to be respectful and all of these different things. And I think in this case, we're hearing from a child who in some ways has grown up, and now they're a spoiled little brat. I'm sure he didn't have to deal with maybe some of the things you and I had to grow up with, you know, as children, Gabby. So I don't know what went on with his parents. I do believe in forgiveness. You know, I've had issues with family members of my own. And, you know, forgiveness is a really tough thing. But for me personally, I rather live and operate in a world of forgiveness than walk around mad, hateful for things that have happened. And there's no rule book here to raise a child. There isn't. So you will make mistakes. You will let your kids down. They may not like that you work more than you're there to go to every single event that they have. And they may even hold, you know, some grudges against their parents because of it. There's no rule books here. And so I think what David Beckham needs to wake up and realize is that he has life. He's breathing. Forgive. Brooklyn, I'm sorry. Not David. Brooklyn. Forgive and forget. And if you don't want to talk to him, cool. But to walk around and post it on social media and all that, I'm not with it. Let it go. I mean, you're an adult now. What are you doing to advance your own life? It's time to let it go.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest.
But at the same time, you know, like Brooklyn claims that his parents are all about like fame and money and such, and so he's blasting them online. Do you expect to see a response from, like, an actual response from David?
Yeah, you may see that, and you know what? They may have to. That may be true, that they are all about fame and all of that. But that afforded him a very different life from the average child, you know, growing up here in the city of Chicago. So I'm just saying that, you know, at some point you can't go around as an adult blaming your parents for everything. You either got to forgive, forget. And if it's that bad, don't talk to him again. But you got to realize that, I mean, even the woman he's married to, do you think he would have met her if it was not for if he grew up on the south or west side of Chicago?
I was just thinking the same.
I'm just saying, I mean.
It's all, it's all kind
perspective.
Of like it all dwindles down to where we started and what we were.
Just saying.
Yeah, because it's going to be interesting to see, like, okay, is it, like, what's the problem here? Obviously, if the parents are, you know, that upset with, like, this, it seems like his now wife, that's kind of the root of the problem. Well, typically, people have reasonings.
For why?
For being that upset, or, you know, wanting to almost like break up a relationship. Not that they should, but usually there's some kind of reasoning behind that. So
yeah, that's true. I give you that.
On either side. On either side.
Forgiveness. That's what I would take away from
it. We can talk a lot about this with knowing very little. Can't we?
Very little.
We can talk a lot about this knowing very little. And that seems to be kind of like A lot of what we do just in day-to-day life.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things too. In fairness, they invited us into their lives. We didn't ask for this. He made the post. If he didn't want us in his business, he should have shut up and not posted.
Even before that, they were making comments and stuff or posting pictures without Brooklyn and the wife and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, they were saying yesterday, or Brooklyn was saying in that post too, that during the wedding, pretty much like Victoria was trying to sabotage the wedding, not getting Nicola, the now wife's dress made.
Is that her job?
I don't know. I guess they had some kind of arrangement figured out. Also, that she broke up the first dance, like their first dance as a couple, and like danced provocatively on Brooklyn.
Who did?
That Victoria did.
Oh, now that's wild. Now that's some wild stuff.
But
that's wild.
Let's see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's see it. But if her responsibility, I heard somebody from the peanut gallery over here talk. If her responsibility was to get the dress made, I'm sorry, I'm not leaving that to my mother-in-law. That ain't her job.
Yeah,
it's my dress.
Could have been an inkling.
So you want to take the money from the family, but talk about the family.
Essentially, I think so.
Make it make sense here.
But if you're on social media and you're seeing like weird AI photos of like Brooklyn and Nicola, I think that's her name, and Victoria like dancing weird, like break dancing and stuff. It's hilarious. It is pretty funny.
But is it true?
It's pretty funny.
Is it true? We don't know.
I don't know. It must be slightly if he's specifically putting that in the post. There must be something going on.
Listen,
this is so much entertainment.
But let me say this:
family.
Mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, that dynamic period can be very interesting for a lot of people. And for a lot of people, that is a tough spot to navigate for various reasons. I have friends that have issues with their mother-in-law. I have friends that don't have issues with their mother-in-law. So, sometimes that dynamic, especially if you're marrying the oldest son, the only son, the baby son, that can turn into a whole thing.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But it is crazy how, like, you have your family, bringing in one person
can change everything.
Can change everything.
That's true.
Everything.
Or was it already a problem in the family before this one person showed up?
Maybe. I've seen it in a couple of instances where it's like, all right, there's a good, strong core family dynamic. Maybe some of the kids are coupled up and have these strong relationships, and then one person comes in and it's like an explosion.
I've heard that too. Yeah, I've heard that. I hope my in-laws don't feel that way about me. But if you do, tell me.
Pray for your kids.
If you do, tell me. Wouldn't you want to know?
Yeah.
I would want somebody to say, Gabby, Tia, I don't like the way you do so-and-so. So you're aware.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Don't gossip about me in a story. Come holler at me. Come tell me.
And maybe you have an explanation for it.
Maybe.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
All right.
We could do the same.
We just could keep going on about
we could. I'm telling you, one family, little details.
Yeah,
we could talk a while on about it. All right. How about we take a break, because coming up we have Chicago Laureate coming in the second. And we're going to hear all about this new role and some of the responsibilities it entails.
We'll be right back.
Mom-in-law has more lawyers than any other.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. The latest Chicago Poet Laureate was just chosen. Maida Alexandra de Valle is being honored for her work by taking on this new role. She's joining us in studio to tell us a little bit more. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
This is so exciting. For people at home who don't know, because you know it is kind of coming back up as you're the second. What is a Poet Laureate? What does this position entail?
So Poet Laureate is kind of a title, an honorific given to somebody who's had significant accomplishments in their field, which I guess I decided I had. So, so I'll be kind of an ambassador of poetry and arts around the city for the next 2 years.
Now tell us, when did you start writing poetry, and really what is the theme of some of your poetry?
I started when I was about 14 years old. So over 30 years now. And I write a lot about identity. I write a lot about being Puerto Rican, growing up on the south side of the city, which is a community and a story that a lot of people don't know about. So I was born and raised, well, I was raised in Chicago Lawn, but my family, when they first came from Puerto Rico, lived in Woodlawn and Inglewood. And there was a pretty big Puerto Rican population in that area, which a lot of people don't know about. So a lot of my most recent work is about those stories.
You know, poetry can sometimes be a little intimidating, I think at least. You know, today I was over at the Yoko Ono exhibit at the Museum of Contemporary Art, Chicago, and some of her work throughout her life was poetry. And I was reading some of it, and I was like, you know, I don't even know where I would start. Is there a rule with poetry? Maybe it's someone at home, like, has ideas in their head, and they want to maybe start writing this down. You know, what's kind of your advice, or what should people know about being a poet?
For me, I would say that it starts with your own story, with your own experiences, with writing about what you know, writing about your environment. When I work with young people especially, the first poem that I have them write is about where they're from, right? So I come from this place, and this is what it's called, and this is what I see, this is what I smell, this is what I taste, this is what I touch, and that really grounds them in being able to use their senses to talk about their own personal experiences. And then as we keep going, we get into their own personal stories, their family stories. We write about food, we write about animals, we write about nature. So, but it really starts with what is around you and understanding that you can find poetry in everyday common things and in your own experiences.
Do you memorize any of your poems? You know, we live in a culture now where a lot of people are doing spoken word. Do you memorize your poems? And if so, do you have a poem that comes to mind right now that you wouldn't mind saying?
Oh my goodness. I used to be really into memorizing my poems.
Okay.
It's okay. People can look online and find it pretty quickly.
But give us some titles. What are some of the titles of some of them?
So I have a piece about my grandmother called A Faith Like Yours. That's a piece that I actually got to perform at the White House some years back. There's a piece I wrote a little bit more recently called Timeline. That one is about my father and his having Alzheimer's and kind of being in a role of helping my mom be a caretaker for my dad. There's a piece called The Windy City Song, which is about Puerto Rican migration to Chicago. There's a piece called To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which is like my rompe corazón poem about heartbreak and boys, which is a well-known piece people can find online too. So yeah.
I love that.
I want you to brag about yourself a little bit. I know it might be awkward, but you're Poet Laureate. I mean, they picked you for a reason. You said that you were able to share one of your poems at the White House. You know, what are some of the great things that you've been able to change? And pat yourself on the back a little.
Oh my goodness. It's gotten easier the older I've gotten. You know, this imposter syndrome leaves as you get older. Sure. So let's see. I was on 6 episodes of Def Poetry Jam on HBO.
That's why that face looks familiar.
Okay.
I started slamming at New York City at the Eureka Poets Cafe. I was the Grand Slam champion there in 2001. I was a National Poetry Slam champion. I've performed at the White House. I've performed at Lincoln Center. I've been on tour with Def Poetry. I got a fellowship in 2024 from Mellon Foundation and Flamboyant Foundation for Puerto Rican writers called Letras Boricuas. I was an artist in residence at Elastic Arts here in Chicago last year, so that's where a lot of the new work that I've been creating was done while I was in that residency. So I've done some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I would say.
Definitely.
I would say.
Have you put any of this in a book? or are you thinking about, or are you working on it?
You know, somebody had suggested to me a while ago that I do kind of like a memoir of like, you know, poetry with the stories about how those poems kind of came to be. So I think it's in the background. I think that might be an idea for
it's a good idea.
next books. Yeah.
I don't know how to really phrase this, but you know, what do you plan to do with your, I guess, reign of being Poet Laureate, you know, your title this year to come of, you know, being the second. You know, what are some of the tasks that you're hoping to get done?
So there's a scope of work that that the position encompasses, right? So there's public appearances on behalf of the city, and then there's also, in addition to that, I'll be partnering with the Chicago Public Library, which is something that's really near and dear to my heart because you know, some of my best memories as a kid here in Chicago were going to the library. So I'll be offering workshops and opportunities for people to come together and write about themselves and write about the city. That's probably what I'm really looking forward to. And then part of my ideas that I, you know, talked about when I was interviewing for the position was doing something with poetry and public art. So. Yeah.
I like that.
I like that too. I'm curious, what was the application process like? Like, did you submit an application, then you had to go before a panel?
Yes.
Oh,
exactly.
You did?
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of submit, and I almost came close to not even submitting because I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, I don't know. And then everyone had all these people being like, you need to apply. Are you going to apply? Are you going to apply? And I was like, I don't know. And then the night before the
application
deadline,
was due?
Yes.
No.
Wow. The night before it was due, I had a dear friend from a poetry organization here in Chicago say, this is what you can submit, right? Because there was like some language in the application that I wasn't sure would allow me to qualify. And she said, you qualify, submit. So I was up till about 5 o'clock in the morning doing all the things, and I submitted, and then I got called in for the interview process.
Who's there? What happens?
Oh my God.
Yeah, how long is it?
There's a panel, so that process took about a month and a half. So a month and a half after the application, I get a phone call and they say, you've made it to the next part of the process. And then there's about I want to say like a 40-minute interview with a panel of about 15.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was it like rapid fire? Like everybody had a question for you?
Well, they send questions ahead of time so that you could kind of prepare.
Okay, good.
And you know, present some of your ideas and your thoughts and that sort of thing. So it was a panel of about 15 people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was a room full of people.
But you're used to being in rooms full of people.
I am.
So, I mean, that was good. You could handle that. Some people probably
I work
couldn't
with like
handle
30 fourth graders at a time, so, you know.
And that's why I call it a reign, because it's like
You're like a poet queen. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing, at least. How many people do you think applied?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I know the first time around it was a couple hundred.
I bet.
Oh, so probably the same that time.
And it was like a
around,
nomination process the first time. So I think the process shifted a little bit, and then so after the interview I was just kind of waiting.
So you really, not to diss the first person, but you really went through some stuff to make it, obviously, that maybe the first person didn't based on nomination.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but Avery is incredible, amazing.
Okay.
So I think there was also the committee, you know, there's a committee of arts representatives from the city, you know, visual arts, music, public art. So that was part of the first process too. It's pretty rigorous.
So tough both sides.
It's pretty rigorous.
Fair to say.
Do other cities have, you know, poet laureates? Have you been able to kind of collaborate with them, or do you know of any other?
So I guess Chicago is one of only 16 cities, is what I heard. Is only one of 16 cities that has a poet laureate. There's somebody in Joliet who just reached out recently. There was somebody in Saratoga Springs who reached out to, I'm not sure what of the larger cities have poet laureates, but we're one of only 16. So
I'm just so surprised that, you know, we haven't had this, I guess. Is it?
I know.
Is it a kind of a recoming of this title, or is it the first time that Chicago? This is literally the second person.
I'm only the second one in Chicago. Yeah, and Chicago being such a hub for poetry, right? We're the city where the poetry slam was invented and where it took off. Other places get credit for it, but we created it, and we are such a city of literary richness that it's it's really surprising that it took this long, but it happened. So
You said that you're used to being in front of a crowd, especially third graders, I think is what
Fourth graders,
fourth
my
graders.
favorite, yeah.
So are you
High school students,
Are you teaching on a regular basis? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, that's been part of my practice for a really long time.
And where are you doing it? Is it at the library?
That's going to be, as part of this tenure, I'll be offering workshops through the library, but I work with the organization here in Chicago called the Chicago Poetry Center. And they offer workshops for young people across the city from second grade all the way through high school. So it's really an amazing organization that makes sure that we have really quality, amazing arts programming in our public schools.
That's good, because I know a lot of kids when they're in school, maybe when we were in school, you would, you know, learn poetry and you would have to kind of know poetry.
Kind
I
of like
don't really hear I don't really hear kids talking about that in English and any of literature classes or anything.
Yeah, arts period has really been cut across the board in our schools. Schools don't even have libraries anymore, you know, so I grew up with having an amazing library that you could walk into, and there was a day of the week that you would go to the library and you check out books, and our public schools don't even have that anymore, you know. So the libraries are now up to the teachers, and they have, you know, in their own classrooms they'll have a library of books for students, but yeah.
And I also feel like poetry can be somewhat of a form of therapy, right? I mean, the more you talk about it, the more I was thinking about it. You know, like knowing that you're writing about maybe your own like past, you know, family life or you know things that have happened.
The rural.
Do you find there's kind of a switch in emotion with some of the students that you're teaching once they put pen to paper?
Yeah, and I start slowly on purpose, you know, so I have them write about the world around them before we kind of start doing those deep dives, right? So that allows me time and space to establish a relationship with them, for them to get to know me and to trust me as a teacher too. And as they get more confident in their skills at writing, then it becomes a little bit easier for them to start writing about their feelings and their thoughts, you know? So I do things very intentionally in the classrooms that I go into.
So I used to write poetry. I'm not you. Okay, let's get that out there now. I used to write poetry, and then I stopped. And you know, I never thought about it until recently when I started back writing, literally like 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow.
Why I couldn't fathom why I stopped, but I think it was like one of those things where, like, you know, life things happen and you just, you know, you move on, maybe literary to something else.
I've stopped. There's periods where I've stopped.
And why did you stop?
Life, you know, sometimes things happen, they just feel really overwhelming, and you have to just kind of sit with them until you're in a place to process them, you know. And sometimes poetry makes you confront things in a really, really profound way that we're not ready for. So, you know, that's also why I'm kind of a multi-interdisciplinary artist. In those times, there's other art forms that I kind of dive into that help me go back into the writing.
So when you stopped, what did you go to? Because as an artist, you can't put that down, the art part.
Yeah. So recently I've picked up photography again. Okay. So I started getting more into my photography, and I've also been a student of Afro-Puerto Rican bomba for 15 years. So it's a music, dance, and drumming form. It's the oldest genre of music from Puerto Rico. So I've been a student for 15 years, so I dance, I sing, I write songs.
You're a full, like, artist.
Yeah, true artist, a true artist.
Where can people find you online?
They can go to the Chicago Poet Laureate page through DKs. That's one place they can find me. They can go to my website. I'm on all the socials. So, yeah, I'm online everywhere.
I can't
Great spirit you have.
Thank you. You too. I saw you downstairs and I was like, who's this fabulous being?
Well, thank you. Okay, I'll take it.
Thank you so much.
It was so good having you.
Thank you so much.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Good Day Chicago won't wait.
behind me, PD.
How you doing this evening?
5 cops just magically appeared on my doorstep. I've been better.
We mind if we come inside?
But the majority of your work consisted of cash seizures.
I don't have any drugs.
The dog's not trained to detect drugs. The dog's trained to detect money. How much was the tip that came in?
300 grand. That's a $20 million rip.
Wow,
That looks
I'm interested.
intense.
I'm interested,
Jake
Jake.
Hamilton in the house.
It's so good. It's so, and yeah, it's a wild story that's based on a true story, and it also introduced me to the word "rip." I didn't know that that's.
Is that for robbery? Or?
Apparently it is. So these guys that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Teyana Taylor all kind of play on this team. Basically, you know, there are teams of cops that go after drugs, drug bust. This team of police officers go after money. And the amount of money that they find, they refer to as a rip.
Rip-off.
A rip. So oftentimes they'll say, oh my God, this is a huge rip that we found.
Oh,
but, you know, one thing that we've learned, you know, in the history of the world, that when large sums of money become involved, money makes people do really stupid things.
Yeah.
So that's the basic core premise of this new thriller that just came out over the weekend on Netflix, did massive numbers. I think over 41 million people watched it over the weekend. And because you think about it, you know, back in the day, if you wanted to see a Ben Affleck, Matt Damon movie, you had to go to the movies. It was, you know, they've done 17 things together, whether it's writing or directing or starring in projects together. This is number 17. And you know what? But now all you got to do is press play because it's on Netflix.
It says it was the biggest feature opening since Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore 2, which Happy Gilmore 2 had the nostalgia factor, and people have been waiting 30 years for it. I think with this one, I think the selling point is, you know, people got on Netflix and saw the thumbnail, and it, you know, it had Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's face, and people realized, oh, that's a movie I've never seen before, and so they pressed play, and I think they're digging it.
I got a question for you, Jake, because nobody's ever explained this to me, and maybe you can, because back in the day when you go to the movie theater, which people still go to, right? Yeah. It was the amount of people that are going to the theater that proves if that movie, how many tickets are sold, that proves that that movie is actually a good movie or not and does well, right? What kind of, right, for financial reasons or
I mean, it definitely gets us talking about it, but I can, if you look at the list of movies that made $1 billion, I would argue more than half of them are crap.
Okay.
I think a movie making money is not. I mean, some of the best movies of all time bombed at the box office.
But I guess my question behind that is, what is considered a win now in the streaming world?
It's getting harder to gauge, and it's a great question. It's getting harder to gauge, and we're all trying to figure out what metrics are we going to put these streamers to. For some people, it's the amount of people that pressed play. And then you make the argument, well, just because you press play doesn't mean you watch the whole thing. But then the argument is also, just because you bought a movie ticket doesn't mean you sat there the whole time. It's a, you know, but there's a, it takes a lot more for someone to put $10 down, $15, $20 than it does press play on their remote. What they've been gauging is number of hours watched. That's how, and it's getting to a point now with something like Stranger Things where they have to gauge things in the hundreds of millions of hours.
Right, because so many people are watching.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
That's why I was curious, because tickets back in the day, they say, oh, it was a great box office
it did $40 million.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, let's be honest. If a movie, let's be conservative and say a movie ticket cost $10. If 40 million people watched The Rip this weekend, that's not equitable to the number of people that would have seen it in theaters, because that means it would have had a $410 million opening weekend, which has never happened before in the history of movies. So, but people are more willing to press play if it's not. If it comes with the cost of
Netflix subscription.
Can I ask you a question though, Jake? You know, with like Netflix, they have like the top 10 or whatever movies, shows.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that's a little bit skewed, like based off how much Netflix has put into that?
I don't think it's skewed, but I also do think that like they're going to put their stuff forward first, right? When you log on to Netflix, you know, they've got sort of they hear the big things people are talking, and of course they're going to put The Rip first. It's their movie. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they put something like that as opposed to, you know, a different studio's film? So I think they help encourage their own product, which why wouldn't they? Everybody does, you know. So I don't think they gauge, because there'll also be random things on the top 10. It'll be what I always love is when you see a movie on the top 10 that came out like 30 years ago and it bombed 30 years ago, but people are just now discovering it. So it can be too random for them. I don't think that they're messing with it. I just think that they pump up their own product. Case in point, we got to be the only ones to talk to Ben and Matt about this movie.
Oh.
You got that right.
We got that conversation.
Why? How? How did that happen? Because it's you.
Because he's Jake Hamilton.
Because it's you.
I tell people I know you guys, and they're
Yeah,
like,
right.
they're like,
That ain't got
they're
nothing
like,
to do
you're
with
gonna be on Chicago Now.
Yeah.
I go, am I gonna be on Chicago Now? I'd like to see you try to stop me.
Keep just pumping us up, Jake. Okay, we got to talk about this new Fast and Furious coaster.
Yeah.
That's coming to Universal Studios Florida.
Oh Lord.
You know about this?
It looks like it's
Wait, we're being yelled at. What are we being yelled at? Oh, we got to toss to the interview.
Oh, let's go to the interview.
Wait, before we get ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
We had a Crime Stopper tip come in on this address.
$1.4 million in this bucket. I bought 14 more of those things. That's a $20 million rip.
You know, it's crazy to think how much these two guys have accomplished over the course of their lives. So I was wondering if you could think about those guys and all the movies you've made in your career. Which of your movies would those two guys love the most? And which movie would those two guys go, yeah, that's not for me?
I'm kind of glad those two guys aren't still guiding our career. You want to steal this rip? Just say it out loud.
I think those two guys would have been excited that we were making movies.
Yeah, right.
Like, period.
Well, that's the truth.
I mean,
So, we view this, we understood going into this, it's a really difficult proposition just to try to be an actor. You know, we didn't know anybody who was a professional actor. I realize in retrospect to the people around us, it must have seemed like an almost ridiculous, like long shot. But our goal was to be able to just do that, to be able to make a living, to be an actor slash, tax preparer or something, where it felt like, well, I want to be an actor, but to actually be able to make a living.
Because I'd do fucking anything to have what you got. So would any of these guys. It'd be an insult to us if you're still here in 20 years. Hanging around here is a waste of your time.
And after the success of Good Will Hunting, where you guys had, I'd imagine, every imaginable role and movie thrown at you, how difficult was it at that point to not make decisions based on money?
in my case, it was really easy because the movies that were coming my way were so undeniably movies that I was just definitely going to do. You know, I mean, I went from right out of, like, as Good Will Hunting was coming out, I did Rounders, and then we did Dogma together with Kevin Smith, and then I went right into The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Right? Or was that,
Shaving Forever was after we did Good Will, before it came out. But then you know, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Anthony Minghella called, and I mean, it was an amazing role and a beautiful film. You know, it was like, and the salary was secondary. It's
to your point, I think it is hard. I think it's hard for people. We all spend, you know, our lives thinking about, okay, well, I'm gonna try to go to school and get a good job, and your parents tell you, you gotta go out there and make a living, and what are you gonna do? And there's a lot of that focus because, you know, for us, I mean, that's the principal challenge of life. Like, we want to have a good life, we want to have purpose, but we have to pay the bills. So to all of a sudden get a chance to be an actor and also sort of have this kind of money dangle, it's a very hard thing to go like, well, that's more money than that feels like a lottery ticket. But I'm not sure.
Our moms made 30 grand a year, you know, and so we were very aware of money and raised with an awareness of money. And plus we'd been, you know, living as unemployed actors together in LA. So we were very conscious of what the meaning of that was.
You think I want to jack this rip?
I don't trust you right now, and that's a problem.
I mean, I do remember when you bought your first house. I remember it's talking about how kind of insecure this profession is. I'll never forget. I went over, you were showing me around, and you go, no matter what happens, I have this and they can't take it away from me. Like that feeling, like I've established a beachhead.
Because Matt always says, like, the phone stops ringing for everybody. And any actor, anyone in this business, I don't care what you do, you feel like it's fleeting. There's no seniority.
Right.
It's just you're kind of as good as your last thing. And you're subject to like a capricious, fickle audience, and a lot of other really talented people want to do the same thing. So, you know, only a fool thinks, well, this is going to last forever. And I'm, you know, it's the opposite. I guarantee you, no matter who the actor is that you talk to, you would think this woman or this man must imagine that they're, you know, set forever. There's something inside them going, it might go.
It's my turn now.
You can't do this to me! It's my job!
You go take care of my little girl now. That's your job.
I will never forget sitting in a theater and bawling my eyes out the moment that you and Bruce Willis trade spots on the asteroid in Armageddon. And I'd love to know if you have a great story about that moment.
I saw Steve Buscemi last night at the premiere for The Rip, and we were reminiscing about that movie and talking about how that was weirdest, like kind of wonderful, strange, otherworldly movie experience that neither one of us had any experience with anything like. It was all these kind of really interesting, cool, independent movie, Wilson and Steve Buscemi and Billy Bob Thornton, off Sling Blade. And then there was Bruce, who was like, of course, this big iconic star, and he was really nice to everybody. And when we shot that scene, I had food poisoning. And I wasn't an experienced enough actor at that point to know that you can just pick up the phone and be like, I'm too sick to work today. I was like, I better come in. And I went in there. I was literally, it's the only time it's ever happened in my life, vomiting between takes. They had a garbage can. And I was trying, and it was a cut, and I probably made the scene better.
Yeah, you look at the movie, you're like, something is really going on for this guy. He's really upset. This guy is in it. Oh, my God.
And don't think I wasn't like, it wasn't a martyrdom. I was like, this might be good for me.
What, sir?
James. Earn this.
Can I ask you about Earn This with Tom Hanks?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to know what that's such a, that line just means so much to a lot of people now. I'd love to know what you remember about just him whispering, because the shot's on him, but it's what he's saying it to you and what that means. I'd love to know what you remember about him whispering that to you.
I was right next to the camera, he was saying it right up to me. And and Steven shot that in chronological order, right? That whole sequence. So we had been together for this kind of, 6-week, period. And it was ending with that moment. And I just remember it was because it was a lot of things coming together in my life. And it was kind of culminating with Tom Hanks looking up at me. And it's the most beautiful. And he's vulnerable, but he's strong. And he's Tom Hanks. He still is. He's completely iconic now. He's in a different place. But like at the time, this is a historically great actor, and I could feel that, having just done this and seeing Steven do what he was doing as a director, that this was a moment, and the camera was right there on him, and he was saying it to me, and I don't know what to say about that. I'll never forget it.
It's such a better story than my food poisoning with Bruce Willis.
I liked your.
That was a great story.
Look, there we are.
Oh, look at that.
Three of us.
Look at that.
Heartthrobs.
Always get the greatest
All three
selfies with these celebrities.
Well, also Ben told a really funny joke as we were. So I actually have a couple of selfies of us like cracking up in the minute as he's making fun of me. But no, they're great guys. Always a good conversation, and it's so cool to actually get them together, because they're often talking about each other in interviews and stuff, but to actually get them together was really cool.
That was.
So the movie is streaming now, The Rip, and it is actually awesome.
Great work, Jake.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, well, stay with us. We are talking with Chalkbeat's Rima Amin right after this break. We'll be right back. Give her a round.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
welcome. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Chicago Public Schools. They're still looking for a CEO. We want to bring in Chalkbeat's Rima Amin. We also know they have ongoing budget issues as well. Rima, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you again for having me.
What do you think some of the biggest developments in terms of CPS will be this year?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things, and it's funny when we write this list every year, you finish it and you're like, oh, there's like 5 other things that should be on this list. But we have some big ticket items this year, including the city's second ever school board elections. This year, all 21 seats will be up for election. Of course, the first city school board elections were held in 2024. It just covered half of the seats. So you're going to be seeing a lot of campaigning. You're probably going to be getting a lot of flyers from prospective candidates. And you're just going to be seeing the city ramp up again for a very big school board election.
You know, let's talk again about, like Tia mentioned, we've had this interim CEO with CPS here for, I don't know, months now. We're kind of talking about it before, you know, coming back to the show, that it feels like it has been a long time. Like, what does this actually mean for the school or for the schools, and what can we expect with that process?
For the CEO process, so currently the interim CEO is Dr. Macklin King. She's been in that job for many months now. And, you know, the school board it appeared that they were set on choosing a permanent leader who was not going to be Dr. King by the end of last year. And then the process from the outside, it appeared to come to a halt. They were down to 2 finalists, and then, you know, the finalist names were leaked, and it just seemed like the whole process was on hold. The school board now says that the process is ongoing, and it appears that they are continuing they were rescheduling interviews with finalists, and they might be inviting new candidates to apply. And our understanding is there could be somebody hired, you know, sometime in this first half of the year. I think that for the broader, you know, student, parent, teachers, there is a leader in place right now, Dr. King. And so it's not like there's a total disruption to stability right now, but depending on when they hire somebody who's permanent for the job, that person will not be in that job for even a year when the city welcomes a new school board next January. So if you have a new school board, if you have a new set of leaders, they might decide that they don't want that person. They might decide that they want somebody else, or they might decide that they really do want stability, and they might keep the person that the school board decides to hire in place. So that would be one thing to kind of, you know, keep your eye on as this process continues to unfold.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, Rima, another thing I think of is, you know, there's so much uncertainty, it seems like every year involving CPS in one part of all of this or another, and that's really concerning for parents. One issue that is going to be raised, obviously a lot of funding cuts have trickled down. Will they trickle down officially to the Chicago Public Schools? And then they have ongoing budget issues as well. Do you think there will be cuts made?
So first of all, the budget landscape for Chicago Public Schools is similar to what it's been in the last couple of years, which means that they have a structural deficit. This year, the school district is again projecting a more than $500 million deficit going into their budget cycle this upcoming summer. So that presents challenges, right? That forces the district and the school board to consider, do we make cuts or do we try to find more money somewhere else so that there aren't cuts to classrooms, especially for these school board members who are going to be running for election. You know, that is a tough thing to take to campaign forums and to nobody ever wants to cut funding to schools, right? And on top of that, you know, there is again an increase of funding for CPS from the state level. CPS gets a lot of its money from the state, but you know, many advocates feel like the increases that the state is providing is just not enough. It doesn't meet the state's own goal for how much it wants to fund school districts across Illinois by this year. They had set a goal for fully funding their new formula that was created a decade ago by this year, and they are not going to meet that goal. So you might see some lobbying, some jockeying on the state level from CPS to boost that funding. You might see some push for legislative changes so that CPS has to cover fewer expenses, such as for pensions, for example, other things that add to its expenses. But the big thing to keep in mind is that the state itself is also facing a budget deficit. It's facing more than a $2 billion deficit for itself. The other thing to add here is that there are people who want to impose new taxes on Illinois' wealthiest residents and corporations. I don't know if there's appetite, like broadly on the state level for that, but it's not clear that that will go through. But if that were to go through, it'd be key to see if any of the additional funding that comes from that would go towards schools.
All right, Rima, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you are now on the show often, which we always appreciate your reporting, everything that's happening over with Chalkbeat. One more time quickly for people at home, where can they find the 5 things to watch in 2026 for local education, and maybe some other stories too?
Yeah, please go to Chalkbeat, that's CHALKBEAT.org/Chicago. You'll find this story and lots of other daily coverage on Chicago Public Schools there.
All right, Rima, thank you so much.
Thanks so
See
much.
you next time. All right, yeah, I teed up earlier that new Fast and Furious coaster. Hopefully we get that in tomorrow. My cards were all out of whack.
Huh?
Yes, a version of
like
Hump
you just
Day.
got off
He was like,
of
what
the
are you talking
coaster.
about, girlfriend? Yeah, I'm back new in the show, right? I'm getting my groove back.
We missed you. You know what? Every day it's something new, Tia.
Yeah, it really
but we
is.
appreciate you guys coming and watching us every day at 11 or 10 to noon with Keith and Anthony in the 10 o'clock hour. And we will see you tomorrow on Thursday.
Friday Eve.
Through Hump Day.
Friday Eve tomorrow. We'll see you then. Be safe, everybody. Look out.
Boom! Next thing I